Welcome back. The feds say they will continue to enforce marijuana laws despite Colorado and Washington becoming the first states in the country to ever legalize the drug for recreational use. Colorado's governor says he respects voters' wishes, but adds, quote, federal law still says marijuana is an illegal drug, so don't break out the Cheetos or goldfish too quickly. Joining me now is the author of This Is Your Country on Drugs, The Secret History of Getting High in America, from the Huffington Post, Ryan Grimm. So, Ryan, I guess you cannot have 5 on it because it is still, people will know what that means when you Google it. You cannot break the law. It is against the law.
Right. You know, the DEA is fighting a rearguard action, and they're going to be putting a lot of pressure on these states. And actually watching what they do is pretty instructive. In 2010, the DEA asked Eric Holder and the Justice Department to come into California and to campaign against Proposition 19, which was on the ballot to legalize marijuana. Holder did come out against it strongly, and that helped defeat it, just barely, but it helped defeat it. This year, the DEA asked Holder to do the same thing in Washington, Oregon, and Colorado, and Holder declined. You know, he didn't do it publicly, but he just didn't do it. He said, you know what, I'm just not going to get involved with this. Right. And I think part of that is that Holder kind of sees which way the wind is blowing here. In fact, in Colorado, pot got 50,000 more votes than Obama. So you don't want to be on the wrong side of that.
You do not. But let me ask you: is it also a larger conversation about this war on drugs? We grew up in a time. I remember the commercial with the egg and all of that. This is your brain on drugs. Is this an evolution on the war on drugs and basically the information we now know and the difference in drugs, the types of drugs?
Yeah, and you saw this in Michigan, where a lot of different towns and cities decriminalized. In Massachusetts, they passed a strong medical marijuana law. Arkansas almost passed a medical marijuana law. Arkansas, in California, voters reformed this odious kind of 3 strikes and you're out law, where a third kind of penny ante crime gets you in prison for life. So that they did away with that. So definitely, people are taking a new look at the criminal justice system, both in the context of fairness and justice, but also in a deficit context. Is this something that we want to be spending resources on at a time when we're complaining that about record deficits?
Absolutely. Well, it's an interesting topic. We'll see what happens, and this may be the beginning of a process that will be followed in other states. Could be. Thank you, Ryan. Great pleasure having you on. I know you had a long night. Thanks for joining me. So now it is time for the News Nation Gut Check. We just talked with Congressman Chris Van Hollen about the extreme partisanship in Washington. NBC's First Read asks, does the status quo control equal status quo governing? What does your gut tell you? The more things change, the more they stay the same. The re-election of President Barack Obama, will it break the partisan fever in Washington? Go to Facebook.com/NewsNation to cast the vote. We'll look at what you had to say.